When I was a kid, I used to freak myself out worrying about being eaten by a shark. Sometimes I'd get so upset I couldn't even go for a swim at the beach. If you're saying that it could happen and I could be eaten by a shark, you're right. But the chances of me being eaten were so minute that they were insignificant. It was far more likely that I would die in a car crash on my way to the beach or drown while going for a swim, but these didn't bother me. What's my point? Fear can be an irrational great white shark just waiting to eat you up if you let it. Can fear be good? If you're alive to say yes, that's good evidence you're right. Fear can keep us safe. It stops us jumping in front of the train just to see what's going to happen. In this video, I want to focus on situations where fear is not helpful. Think about all those moments in your life when fear held you back. I'm willing to bet that many of these moments involved you thinking about the horrendous outcomes that could happen if you made a particular decision, like being eaten alive by a giant fish while swimming. So where did my fear come from? I'd watched Jaws, I'd read books on sharks, and I'd joked with mates about sharks, but I'd never seen anyone attacked by a shark, and at that point I'd never even seen a shark alive in the water. My life was devoid of actual evidence to support my conclusion that I was going to be eaten when swimming. The final point I want to make around what fear is that it's normal. Everyone gets afraid. When athletes talk about butterflies, that's fear. When actors discuss pre-screen nerves, that's fear. So don't feel shame about fear as you're normal for being afraid. So why should we care about our irrational, unproven, but perfectly normal fear? Start thinking again about times fear caused you to make poor decisions or miss out on opportunities. How many of your current regrets are attached to these? When we allow fear to overcome us, what we're really doing is devaluing ourselves, telling our own minds we aren't good enough to face whatever is in front of us and deal with it. I remember early in my professional career, I was buddied up with a much more experienced mentor. This buddy took advantage of that and used me to do their work in the name of training for 6 months. I was doing two people's jobs. I knew it was wrong, but I allowed fear to stop me from speaking out. This affected my happiness at work, added unnecessary stress to my life, caused me to doubt myself, get angry at people I cared about, and to lose sleep. Eventually it got to the stage where I just couldn't take it anymore, and I snapped. If I'd not allowed fear to drive my decision making, I wouldn't have spent 6 miserable months as this person's personal assistant, and I would have managed the confrontation with them a lot more positively. I've turned this into a powerful self-lesson, but for a long time it was a major source of regret for me. When I looked back at this story, I remember, like the shark attack story, coming up with all sorts of crazy ideas in my head around what would happen if I stood up for myself. I would damage my career prospects, I would lose this person's respect, other people in the office would think I'm a shitty teammate, or I could be fired. Out of all the possible negatives, none of them happened. I did stop being closely involved with my buddy in the story, but that was a good thing. In this example, you can see that when fear prevents us from taking needed action, from being assertive, from confronting challenges in our lives, it can be toxic to our self-worth, well-being, and create regret and shame that stays with us long after the very situation we were fearful of has gone. So how do we overcome the great white shark that is fear? The first step, don't fight the power. You can't stop emotions, don't waste your effort. I'm willing to bet the more you focus on not being fearful, the more fearful you become. The goal here is to learn to acknowledge the emotion and then let it flow right past you as you continue on ahead. In one of the discussions at Brojo the other day, one of the guys discussed the success he had parenting his own mind. Whenever you have an emotional reaction to something, Instead of allowing it to control you and your behavior, imagine a wiser, older version of yourself telling you you're not fearful, you're just feeling fear. You're not angry, you just feel anger. You're not sad, you just feel sadness. The purpose is to start forcing your brain to see that emotions are transitional, not permanent. And it also forces you to take ownership of your feelings. This is a very simple explanation of the two minds theory. I'll put a link to one of my favorite articles on this subject at the end of the video. Once you've started to distill your fear into a temporary feeling that you own, you can start taking actions to overcome it. The best way to do it, confront it. This is where your value of courage comes into play. In my experience, there are two paths open to you. I'm sure you've all had mates who were afraid of something, like heights for example, and then went skydiving, bungee jumping, mountain climbing, nuking their fear in a very short space of time. This is called flooding, and it's not for the faint-hearted. If you want to go this route, then I suggest you take a wingman or wingwoman along for the ride so that both of you can crap your pants together. I've tried this, and I promise you it can lead to success fast if you're courageous enough. The second, more gentle way to start overcoming fear is desensitization. This is where you push your fear a little further every time, but never overloading yourself. An example of this is if you're afraid of crowds, go to say the mall during the week. Start working up from there, finding busier and busier times and spending more and more time. Only progressing when you're cut from your current step when it no longer creates the same level of unmanageable fear. It's all going to be relative to you as an individual. Remember, in order to grow, you should always be pushing your comfort level a little. The goal of the above approaches is to provide as much counter evidence to your mind as possible that disproves the fear you have. I've swum in the sea thousands of times. I've researched sharks widely and dived with them as well. And I'm still in one piece. Even though I still feel fear, my own mind is trained to call bullshit based on my wealth of evidential experience that allows me to get on with living. Growing your ability to be courageous is universal. It doesn't matter in what area of your life you improve your ability to manage and overcome fear, you will increase your ability to be courageous. I'd love to hear your stories about how you've gone overcoming fear in your life, any tips that you've used. Leave a comment on the video or drop me an email at davidgreernz@gmail.com. That's davidgreernz@gmail.com. If you liked what you heard in this video, hit my logo to subscribe to my channel and check out some of the other videos. Have a great day, take care out there, see you on the next one.